Good afternoon, guys. Just let me know whether you can hear me and it's clear. We had issues this morning with the microphone, with headsets, everything. So I wasn't coming through loud and clear. I did have a listen to it later on, and it was just a mess. So I got a feeling it was just not connected properly. So just let me know if you can hear me okay, if it's clear. Can hear me in my beautiful baritone voice. Fantastic. All right. So how are you guys? Go Bobby, Ola and Peter. So a few more coming in slowly. Let's get into it. G'day Jane. Gino. All the top-notch people are here. Here we go. Including myself, of course. So we've... I was going to have a good chat this morning, obviously, about the markets, and we might go over that in just a minute, and we'll sort of focus on oil, because that's a big theme at the moment. Pretty much what happened on Friday night in the US and Europe is pretty much irrelevant at the moment. We've got indices, they opened down this morning on the futures market, and on the CFDs we got crude oil gapped up along with gold. So gold's pushed up. I haven't looked at them for the last 20 minutes. It's been going haywire here for some reason with the alerts. Everything was ticking off at the same time. So our gold, which is DCN, kicked right back up again, so it's gone from negative to positive. We've got a few that are coming under pressure. Even the short is coming under pressure slightly. I mean, it's better than it was on Friday, but it still would have gapped down and then popped straight back up again. So the market is doing some strange things. It's not, considering the pressure you're seeing in the overnight markets, say the US, the Dow, the FTSE, the DAX, all these sorts of things, it's not translating on the ASX at the moment. So whether it's a buy on the open, sell on the close, you know, we get slammed into the close. We don't know just yet, but we're not getting the same reaction on our market that basically every other market's getting. So we'll have a look at that. Let's just close this now. Anyone that's new, sorry by the way, welcome. Yeah, you can join us on Twitter at @trade_setup, and it'd be appreciated. Any sort of stuff we pump out, you can give it a like. Facebook, that's pretty much the same stuff will come out there, and subscribe to us on Twitter. Sorry, on YouTube, the bottom right hand corner you'll see. Now that's done, we'll get rid of that. What have we got? So that's kicked off. So anyone that's just watched the alerts, NXS has just kicked off. I was looking. Oh, and we're 0.5 cent away from QFE, so let's just see how that goes. And crude's up there, so hanging okay at the moment. Would be nice to see some of these go a bit better. No, I want to keep that. I want to do this XJO. Alright, so let's just take a look at where the overnight, or where the markets are. We're only down 2 points, and that's so where we finished on Friday. So in the overnight market on Friday, so our overnight market, which is the SPY futures, was trading Friday night. From that closed and our close on Friday afternoon, we're probably going to open about 5 to 10 points down. Now we did open weaker and then straight back up again. Actually, look at the intraday, the session. That's the open. It actually opened positive, which is, it's very strange. So I find that sort of stuff strange. And if you're trying to argue with me, there's no manipulation or mucking around with the markets, I would argue with it every time. Can you hear me, Gino? Can everyone hear me still? Hopefully I haven't cut out again. Or was Gino just mucking around with me? Hopefully Gino's not mucking around with me. Just making sure I'm still coming through. Yeah. Thanks Gino. Yeah, so you can see that open. That was a bit strange to me. I found that because of where we'll go and show you the overnight markets. So this is, I'm just keeping on the SPY. That's a gap down. So the SPY gap down. We're another 15 points from the close. So say we're looking at this stage, all staying good. We're meant to open somewhere around 5 to 10 points down. Then we gap down because of what's happened with crude and everyone mucking around. Iran and the US situation, crude gapping up, all that sort of thing. The SPY actually gapped down at 950, so that was an extra what do you call that, 20 points. Now, it gaps down 20 points. We should have taken it down to 25 to 30 down on the open, on the ASX, yet it opens up 5 or 6 points. So it just doesn't make sense. And there's people mucking around with it. The index, probably lack of volume on the open too. Everyone's sort of sitting around. So that's not conducive to fear on the open. It did come back, you can see. That's the open. Did come back and push down, but it really, from where we closed Friday, it wasn't that much at all. And I don't put a lot of emphasis in. You can see this gap up. Let's just get in on that. Everyone see this gap up on the close. So that's your 4 o'clock close. Then we go into the match and gap up, 10 points or 15 points. 17 points, I think that was, from that close at 4 o'clock to 10 past 4. So there's been a bit of playing around with the index. It'd be interesting to see if it holds up here. Say around 66.70, 66.65. We hold up here and we start to ease off. It could be a bit of a sell-off into the close, but the way it opened, it's just got me a bit concerned that we're not going to see the weakness today. We may be sitting to wait to see what happens overnight, wait to see if there's a big bounce back in overnight markets. Let's just show you that too. So that's just a SPY. Then we have Wall Street gaps down, so they're down roughly 27, just say under 180 points down from where they closed Friday. We've got the US, this is big S&P, down sort of on its lows, gaps down. Germany gaps down, it's down on its lows as well, so they're down quite a bit from their close on Friday. And same with the FTSE. And then we have, this is gold gaps up, and still holding these highs. It's holding around the above 1500 mark. And oil it gapped right up. It is easing off a bit, but considering it's not really doing too much at the moment. So it is holding on to those gains just at this stage. So whether our markets, I don't know, we're just going to sort of wait and see, Mark, because there's two sides of the coin at the moment. With oil, you've got either Saudi can come out and easily fill the gap with what they've got on storage, as in supplies. They're going to dwindle away at their storage, but they could really ramp it up when the I can't remember what it's called now, when the production plant comes back online that was bombed. They're saying it could be online in a couple of days, it could be online in a couple of weeks. So either way, if they've got enough storage to really pump out to make up the slack of what they are expected to deliver, because they pump out a certain amount of barrels every day, or deliver a certain amount of barrels every day in production. Now, if they've got enough in supply to do that, then fine. It's probably not going to be such a big issue. But if they haven't, and it takes longer to sort out, then we might find oil actually starts ticking home. There's talk of it going up to $100 a barrel. Now we're trading somewhere around 60, or through 60, I think it is. Let's just see where. So we'll see where the futures are trading. So we pushed through 62, $63 a barrel. We're trading somewhere around 60 at the moment, $60 a barrel. So really, it could be a bit of, again, a whole lot of people being flushed out on the open. It settles down, it comes back. We get this drift all the way back down to sort of that 55 level on oil. Everything's sorted out, and we're completely fine. But there's also the risk of Iran and US escalating this conflict, which obviously is going to tick over on crude oil as well, and sort of help supply, help boost the price, I guess, when you're talking about supply demand. And then you've got gold. Gold is holding on, so that gold could be anticipating there's going to be a bit of argy-bargy back and forward. Yeah, and Trump's also, like John just said, he's released US oil reserves, so he's on the front foot. He's trying to support his market as well, so he sees the potential for this market to get sold off if it doesn't get sorted out. So he's jumped on the Twitter again. He's obviously loaded long. We spoke about this the other day. He is long the indexes across the board, and he doesn't want it to go down. So yeah, I think they're going to do everything to try to buoy it. And, it's whether or not, I think from now, it's probably whether or not it actually escalates. But if that's the case, then you see a lot of these markets will pop back up into, they get through Europe, they start getting buoyed a whole higher low, hold higher levels, and start to push back up to where they closed on Friday. But we'll just have to see how that goes, and maybe that's what our market's just anticipating that. And you can see now the SPY looks like it's ready to break out to the top side, so we could end up positive on the ASX any minute now. We'll go down 1 point, so we'll probably be positive very, very shortly, which is unusual considering what's happened. And we haven't really seen any pressure on our market really from the open. The most pressure was down at 66.50, and we're 15 points above that, or just below that level anyway. So yeah, it's interesting. Let me just quickly do something. I forgot to do this. There we go. That should be better. So you should be able to see the right-hand side with all the prices. The index a lot since most shares hadn't traded yet. Bellamy's jumped a lot. Yeah, Bellamy's, what is it, a takeover? Well, not takeover, but BAL. So a massive squeeze on that, wasn't there? So you'd hate to have been short coming into today on Bellamy's. Look at that. That was looking weak, coming down and then pop up on scheme of implementation. Whatever that news means, but it's obviously very positive news. It's pushed it right up to 13 bucks. Yeah, look, that could have really affected it. The first few minutes, you're probably right. Whether it's got enough oomph to really hold that market up, I don't know. But yeah, even then, when the market's filtered open, it's fully open, it's still not down too much. The market's still getting supported. We'll just have to see how it goes. So yeah, that's it. We thought we'd have a quick look at just see what is going on with oil, whether there is some opportunity there. Or, I mean, this is the hourly chart. We'll probably have to go out to, let's go over here. Go to the futures. We'll go to we're on the daily here. So the good thing is, what it's done, it's set the stage, it's cleaned out a lot, and we've spoken about this. I think I sent an alert out a while ago. It is holding higher levels. You can see we've got, this is a key zone on the weekly chart, key zone right down at 42. And then it's had a strong reaction. So you can see the market's got pumped down to that level, strong reaction back up. And then it's a decent reaction back down, but it started holding again. So it's holding a higher level, the first higher level on the daily and on the weekly to it, but just above 50 bucks. Then it's popped up, so you can see the contraction coming in. We've got lower highs coming into play, but we've also got buyers are stepping in at higher levels. Okay, so we've got something's changing. The tone in oil is changing. The tone, whether the bias is down or bias is up, the tone between buyers and sellers is starting to change. Whether the sellers are seeing, and probably up until today, you've still got some lower highs holding, but then you've got another inside high low holding at around 53.50, which is quite good. And it just broke, it broke up through those, a little lower high at 57.40. So you got the action. It's still contracting in. I think that was your first sign that potentially the bulls are going to come out to play, and there's going to be some sort of reaction higher, potentially taking out this level at 60 bucks. We thought it would be edging up towards there, and if it broken out of it, you can see this sort of trend line coming down. If it started breaking up, holding, you'd probably find there would have been a lot of good opportunities into oil stocks, into that sector. The problem is obviously the news is kicked off on the weekend, and it has spiked straight up through that zone, and it would have caught a lot of people off guard. It's really hard to buy. I mean, I would never, on that sort of news, I'd never buy on the open, because I just feel that you're always going to get the retail investors are going to jump in on the open thinking crude's going to open up, I'll buy some gold, some oil stocks, I'm going to be rich type of thing. And then it pops up in the open, they're all feeling good, but then it's always going to be some sort of sell-off, because there's going to be people that potentially bought in here looking for that gap fill, when the market's going to come back down, maybe on oil, but on some of these stocks. Let's just see what we got. Yeah, like say Woodside, that's gapped up in the open, and it hasn't seen a high since the open, and it's just been selling off since. So there's going to be that intraday short sellers going to pile in. If you wanted to buy, you're looking to buy into it, why would you buy straight on the open? You probably wait till the end of the day. Short sellers coming in, then you want to see some sort of buy evidence, whether it's playing out. We're not really getting too much. We're getting volume easing off from the open, but you really want to see some sort of buying evidence come in before you start loading up on some stocks. And for me, I would find that very, very hard to jump in, considering what oil's done, because there's too many ifs and buts to jump in at that high price. Does that makes sense? Like we're just discussing about more production, like US bumping out, releasing some of the reserves. You've got Saudi Arabia taking up the slack too, keeping prices down there, rather because they don't really want it to get out of hand. Crude gets out of hand, it's going to hurt the overall market as well, because that's an input cost for a lot of stocks. So higher prices on oil means higher prices in a lot of these shares. means lower earnings, means sell-offs, all that sort of stuff, and that's the last thing Trumpy boy wants. So, yeah, so that would have been a hard effort to jump into some stocks there. But if we get what you'd want to be looking at, if this thing gets contained, oil, gets contained, and we start to find it pulls back and it starts to hold a higher level, because it was anyway. And that's what we're looking at. This sort of gap up, you expect it to come down. If it can come down and hold, I want to draw on that on a different chart. Give me 1 second. Let's just get that. If it can hold, if it sort of comes down and it starts to drift lower, and then you get buyers stepping in like that, that's where you'd want to be probably looking at some oil stocks and see where they are. Because I think that's enough to really, a bit of a clean out of those sellers or the buyers that jumped in above 60, clean them out. Buyers start stepping in at these prices in oil, starting supporting higher levels. You don't know what the situation is by then, but we will know, good or bad, what's happening. Give it a few days, we'll know what's going to, maybe, okay, they met production, but Iran and the US start having a bit more of a tiff. And that starts kicking off, meaning that's going to hurt demand potentially, supply potentially. So this is what we'd be looking for if you want to start to jump into oil or oil stocks. And that's purely because that sort of spike through 60 has cleaned up a lot of shorts. So pretty much it's taken everyone out in one foul swoop, on the short side anyway. And if you're going to reset short, it's probably, I think it would be tough, even into the futures, to reset short roughly where you are. What you'd want to see on crude is that you've got this punch down. You want to see it wash out and then pop back up and then start to see some weakness come in if you want to set short, as opposed to this, grinds down and then he starts holding higher levels. That's different price action to something like this. Does that make sense? This, a sudden spike higher, so that's showing, okay, you got the opportunistic sells, they're coming in, they close out, it pops back up, and you get buyers starting, they're still concerned about the supply of oil, and it pops back up, but then it's met with more sellers at a lower level. Does that make sense? And once they start coming in, that's potentially where you're going to get shorts to reset and push it down, and then you could probably discount a lot of this move, this spike up, if that's making sense. But at the moment, it's way too early to see that just at this moment, at this stage. So either way, there could be, there could be some opportunity coming. I do think it was coming anyway in crude because of the way the futures were setting up. It's holding higher levels, and maybe that's got more to do with demand coming online as the trade war eases, or something happens in the trade war rather than what's happening between Iran and the US. And that's my view anyway. What's everyone else's view? You're starting to got it on. Is everyone got it on the radar at the moment? Let's just go through. That's what's it? One Steel. What am I talking about? Oil Search. That's actually opened, washed out the lows, and come back up. Let's just look at what the. So this was around this spot here. Probably better buy opportunity. Only intraday, but it's getting back up to the highs. We're starting to get some sort of failure in OSH, back up to the highs from the open. So we'll just have to wait and see how that goes. There's not too much volume up here either, so that could start to edge its way lower. What else we got? That's heading south, Woodside. STOs, that's come right back obviously from the open as well. So a lot of these stocks are going to gap up, clean up people, and straight back down again. RRG, what are we doing on that one? OMG. Such a wide, Alright, yeah, same sort of thing. Look, that's not holding up too bad. You've still got this spike, and I'm sure that candle there, this is a 5-minute candle by the way. I'm sure this candle here was after Trump's tweet, wasn't it? That was quite early, old Trumpy boy. So it's probably popped up here. He's come online and tweeted, we're letting go of reserves, da-da-da. And it's come down. You got that secondary sell-off, but then this candle here is quite strong considering it's off the lows. You got that sort of a W pattern here. That's actually not a bad intraday trade. If you took it just through that red candle there, just through the high at 790, bought it through there. You're sitting on only 3 cents at the moment, but it could lead to a bit more of a clean out. Actually, I'd know. In saying all that, I probably wouldn't touch it. I think it's still looking a tad heavy. Yeah, Origin. What else we got? BPT. BT. That's starting to hold the MAs, but that's, we've got this big gap up, squeeze back out. This might be, just be careful, there's not going to be that secondary bout of selling, depending on what crude does, depending on what gold does, depending on, a few other factors, but there could be another wave selling back in to close the gap from the open, or get closer to closing the gap on the open anyway. What's it look like on the daily? Yeah, look at that big clean out. So that's, that could just be a straight reversal candle today by the end of the day on a lot of these stocks. So just be wary on that, guys. But I think I'm still a bit of a believer that we're going to see some sort of action come into oil. But over the longer term, maybe this is just a blip. We'll have to wait and see. It could bring in a lot of action. I mean, if things really get out of hand, don't forget with all these stocks, what they'll be looking at too. You've got, even though they've got to get out the reserves, obviously, so they're going to start trying to fill the gaps or fill the deficit for supply from their oil reserves that they've got, US and what they call Saudi. But it's still going to take quite a bit of time, I think, to get that out there. So it could mean, we might see some higher oil prices for a bit longer than what people are expecting, even if things probably calm down. I think it's not as easy as just going through the motions of what do. They dig it up, refine it, pump it, put it on in the trucks, on the train, and start to ship it. There's got to be a lot more movement with shipping, moving around to wherever they keep their supplies. It's sort of that logistics of it all. It's going to be a kind of a tough one. And it could just mean that to come online could take a bit longer. I'm not sure how much. I just remember reading that this morning. I'm not sure if that's going to affect it a lot, or that could just keep these sort of higher prices a bit longer than what people expect. And then, one or two things. People are either going to jump in because it's holding up and they're going to jump in long not knowing what's going on, and they get squeezed out on a move down. Or, it just sort of discounts that and it comes back down again. But we'll keep an eye on the next few days. There's probably going to be, obviously he's shown his hand a bit. I think it's got a lot more to do with what happens with Iran and the US, and whether there's some sort of containment of the situation, I guess you could say, or whether it gets out of hand a bit more. Anyway, that's really what I was looking at on crude. Let's just see where the rest of these markets are. So it's coming back to light with gold's probably coming down. Yep, gold's coming down. Wall Street should be starting to pop. So all these markets, we've got Asia's online. They're starting to come back in, maybe some bargain hunting coming in. So we'll see what happens in the European session. And our market, we're still hanging in there quite nicely, really. Look at that. Still grinding up. This, see the momentum though, just keep an eye on this. This is what we're looking at. The way I'm sort of viewing this, it could pop, it could really kick on hard, but I sort of don't expect that coming into the close. You got this gap down, it's come in, filled the gap, it's come in, pulled back, held a higher level, but really the momentum hasn't changed that much. The momentum and volatility was quite high on the open. As we get people selling, getting short on the open, getting squeezed out, potentially another short as it comes crashing back down, they get squeezed out, hard rally back up. But then you can see this momentum on this rally is quite low compared to the previous momentum from the open. So it's chopping around a bit. It'd be interesting to see if it starts rolling over and holding a lower high into the close. Coming up with sorry, just getting rid of a fly. I like that, Helen. All right, so I hope we're all doing well. We're not getting chopped around too much. Let's take a look at some stocks now. Jump in and put anything you want to take a quick look at. We've sort of gone over a few of the. We look at KSS. Anything else that tickles your fancy? QFF looks like we've just got that now. For anyone that's looking at that, it's kicked off. Bloody COH. I thought that, the short would kick on a bit more, but that looks more like contraction here. If we don't take out on Cochlear that low, it's probably a short squeeze. We might get caught up in a bit of a short squeeze. Short squeeze meaning we're short, we're going to get squeezed out when it rallies. We'll see DCN's going nicely. Hopefully that can tick up through that high at around 132. Gee, it'd be nice if we can do it today. and that, get a deeper pullback. We'll look at taking a partial, locking in some gains, and just see if we can close that gap towards that 150 mark. But that's it. We've got a few more. I mean, Bub, I don't know if anyone's got that on the radar. I don't mind this action. It had a good flush up at the start of the year, wasn't it? Yep, about April. Really took off. Comes straight back down again. And you've got this higher level holding in here, and it's flushed back up. It's got a lower high, but it's holding, again, it's holding higher levels at about 110 and potentially up towards 115 at the moment. So this action, you can see it's sort of squeezing in. So we'll just have to wait and see who wins out on this. But if we can get this, look, if we can get this volume picking up, especially where we are here, and you can see the stochastic, so the selling pressures come right back in, got held up, soaked up at a higher level compared to last time the selling pressure come in. This got soaked up here, popped back down, soaked up at a higher level. Potentially we're getting soaked up again at a higher level, but on the flip side, you're getting sellers still coming in. So when you're getting the lower highs and they're coming down, stochastics are still going from oversold to overbought up here. It's just a reverse situation of what we just mentioned on the buy side. But at the moment, if we get, so this is where your entries really come into it. Really take a note of where you want to know when you're trading what side is going to be wrong. Because at the moment, we've got sellers coming in. You can see sellers come in here. Okay, sellers coming in here. They've come in here. So who's going to win out? Sellers or buyers? That's all you're trying to question. You've got both sides showing some strength at the moment. Sooner or later, one side is going to run out of steam and the other side is going to take control. But you've got to find on your entries, this is why I find them so important, not just to buy on the bid. If you just sat down here and go, oh, look, it's held up 115, I'll buy at 118. Okay, we bought at 118, and then, okay, why is it getting screwed? Why is it going straight back down through 110? It's because the sellers are starting to win out and buyers are not. They're targeting stops through 115, come straight back down through 110, take out the stops here, going to retest 95, for instance. All right. So that's why it's important to know what level is the buyers or sellers going to be wrong. 29th of the 8th. Where was that? Here. Okay, so you probably, well, honestly, maybe a tad preemptive there, Pete, but I mean, it could still work out. I'm biased. I'd be biased up on this one. I think this sort of contraction is taking out a bit of the heat from the selling. And if it can take out, say, 125, this high, even, give yourself a bit of safety. You got taking out you buy an entry at 130, for instance, with a stop below, say around 115. If you got that, then to me, that's quite clear that the buyers are starting to take control, and sellers, the pressure's going to be on the sellers. So anyone, basically, when I mean sellers, anyone short selling in here, the pressure's going to be on them to close and buy back. Or if anyone's been watching it, waiting to jump back in, there's going to be no more sellers. So if you're long and you start to see the price action, let's just draw it up. You're starting to get price action that looks like it wants to lift. So you've got higher level here, higher level here. You've got this little kind of entry. If it starts to tick up here and you get it start to lift, then we'd want to be long, because that's going to put pressure, especially if it gets up through 130. So you've got this it could just be consolidation, double top at 130 and come driving back down. We don't know that just yet, because sellers still here. But if you're sitting there and it starts to get up through 130 and you were thinking about selling, you probably think twice and you just sit on the sidelines and see what happens. So what it does, by breaking certain levels where, just think of it where one side's proven wrong. Okay, so if we start getting up through the, say, 125, even 130, we start getting up through there on Bub, to me, that's a clear sign that sellers are on the wrong side. If you're a seller, you're going to have to close. If you're thinking of selling, you probably hold back. So the weight of numbers of sellers are starting to go back on the sidelines and just watching the action play out. And if you're getting buyers starting to ramp up a bit and you get the volume starting to increase, they're starting to charge higher. And to me, it's a clear sign that buyers are on the right. Buyers are winning the battle, if that makes sense. So that's why I think your entries are very, very important, really. This is only a minor thing. So just because it breaks up, say it breaks up through here, it doesn't, or you buy at 125, it doesn't technically mean that the whole dynamics are changed, because there's going to be some stops above this level. Potentially not that stop. So if you sold it in here, you're probably going to hold your stop above 130, for instance, off this key. This is more of a key high low. You've got it touching 1, 2, 3, more of a key. So that, to me, if it triggers through there, what it's done is triggered any sort of stops on the sell or buyback stops or stop entries to buy. And what that's going to get a bit of momentum. But, if you buy it at 125, it could easily go back up, trade 130 and come screaming back down, because I don't think there's going to be enough stops between here and 130. They're going to change dramatically change the direction of the market. Or it's just going to be very minor volume. Does that make sense? So that's what I'd be looking for. So this could easily be, more sellers just sitting on the sidelines waiting. They come piling back in as it approaches 130, just trying to either minimize losses or they think that it's heading down a lot. We'll just have to wait and see. But I did read that, the Alibaba guy has taken 15% stake in Bub. So there is some support there, isn't there? So fundamentally, it's still looking okay. I think technically, if we can start to lift and we get this volume, it's easing off still, and it's in a prime position. You can see on the weekly it's starting to get sort of that oversold mark. There might be a bit of work to still do. I think that could start to lift. All right, there's my rant on entries. No worries, Emerson. Whether you believe me or not, it's a different story. I could make anything sound good. ARU. ARU, then I think we start. Look, this could be starting to take off. There's a spike in a bit more volume coming in today, but compared to when it was on the run up here, it's next to nothing, and we've gone from oversold, which is a good thing. We've got oversold around that 6.5 cents. We've got back to overbought. Last time we were overbought, we're right up here. So to me, there's still a bit of selling pressure hanging around. And you might just want to see, for me, just see some contraction. And that weekly chart, oh, look, it's primed. And you can see on the weekly, if anyone can see what I'm looking at, this little rally here, the volume's still backing off. So to me, it's not convincing that politics, I'll be hopeless at politics. So I'm not swearing right now, but generally when I've got the mic off, I'm a bit foul-mouthed. So I don't think they're going to like that in politics. What we're saying, the market has found a buy level. It's found a buy zone through 4 cents to 5 cents. So it lifted quite solidly, and it was supported with volume. Now we've come straight back down. It's found 6.5 cents. Okay, it's a turning point. But whether it's just a turning point, because what you ideally want to see is that volume lift, like it did probably on the second candle. We're on a weekly. So on this second candle, you can see the volume really pick up, and it was significantly different to, the last few months. Anywhere, from December even, that volume is a hell of a lot different, and it picked up. We're into about the third or fourth week of this little pop up, and we've got volume coming down. Okay, so to me, it could be okay. We could be rallying, but it could be running out of steam, and we might need some sort of thing, some sort of correction like this. So I'd ideally, to keep myself on the safe side, we've popped up, we've come back down, we're starting to lift like that. I would like to see, if we do run out of steam, come back down and see what happens as we approach this low again, which is, 6.5 cents. Does that make sense? And just see if we can get some volume come in. Whoopsie daisy. What happened there? If we can get some volume coming in, hold some higher levels, and then see if we get the pick up in volume. And we could easily get a nice entry through, 6.5, 7 cents, thereabouts. So does that make sense to you guys? I'd rather see this level be the line in the sand, and I want to see it supported in this zone, potentially, with some high lows. High lows and volume. That would be my ideal situation. But the problem is, just at the moment, and then this could easily lift. We could pop up, get up to 9 cents, and all of a sudden the volume comes in, boom, up we go. But to me, it's just not setting up. I'd have to, potentially buy now with a stop just below this candle and not risk too much. But we'll see. I think longer term, that's the weekly. Longer term, I'm not a big fan of that. I'll just draw it. Not a big fan how it's kicked up and it's come all the way back down. So who's to say? We could just we could do this and just work our way back down again. You know, this could be a major double top at 14 cents and it's come back down. So it's reacted off these highs again, you know, with volume too. It's reacted straight back off these highs with volume. So I'd ideally want to see volume start to pick in if it's a good stock. We've got this sort of line in the sand around 4 cents. We've got a double top we're up against and it's taken a lot of liquidity out of the market. It's backed off quite sharply. So to me, it has to chop around here. And I want to see that over a bit of time as well. A bit of time, volume start to ramp up again and see if we can start to, you know, at least show us an entry for a targeting back up towards 14 cents and on we go. I mean, this is all going to be longer term. It could be different to everyone's style of trading. Let's just see what it's intraday. Well, intraday, it's not something to attack anyway. 200,000. Yeah, smally. All right, what do we got next? Who's chucked in something next? Ola. AVH. So the weekly, I like this weekly. It's got a key level around the 32 to 35 zone. Let's just draw that up a bit. Oh, that's too far, isn't it? Let's go back a bit further. So I like this. We've got a key level. It's brought up, so it's got some liquidity through, I'll say 32 to 35, 33 to 35. Liquidity, it's popped up, rejected quite savagely in that. It's a weekly chart I'm on, aren't I? Yep, I'm still on the weekly, so let's have a look at the daily in a second. So you can see it's ramped up here, held at higher level in here, popped up. There could have been a few little entries, especially just in here. You can see that red candle, it's opened, finished on its lows that week. Next week it opened slightly higher and held on to some gains and it really contracted. So if you looked at a daily, that would have been a real good entry through there with minimal risk. And look what's played out. Probably similar here. You really never come under too much pressure, and that could have been an entry. We've got the volume picking up here, which is great, supporting that. And then on this, the volume's eased off there, but that week when it broke out with volume. So that's a cracker, and the volume has really picked up through here, you can see. I really want to draw that in a circle, don't I? So these are the things you want to be sort of taking note. If you buy on a breakout and you're not supported with volume, you could be the only one buying on the breakout. So just be wary of that. If the volume starts coming in, you're not the only one with that idea, and there's a lot of other people supporting it. And the weighted numbers would be on the buy side, obviously, because you can see it's just ramping higher. So when you get this kind of expansion into highs, it just means that there's no liquidity on the sell side, and buyers are chasing their tail to race, chase it higher basically. But if you see prices, your volume come in and it's not really going anywhere, it means there's still liquidity sitting on the offer, piling on the offer, and there might be somebody just keeps coming in, topping up the offer because they're trying to get rid of some stock. Does that make sense? So you're just going to be careful of that when it breaks out, which could have been a bit of that may have been the issue back, the start of the year. Could have been a bit of an issue there, but once we got through essentially these highs, this previous high just above 12, then I think the dynamics have changed, and you can really see, okay, it was getting soaked up here, soaked up all the way through here, right up till sort of 15 mark. It had a little minor pullback on the weekly chart, one red candle, and then it started getting soaked up again. So when it started getting soaked up, that you can see why it's a prime entry, and you can see it's not us. It's not just us talking about it or thinking the same thing. It's a lot of other people, because once it got through those highs, it was off. It was off and racing, and it just took off from 15 to 50 cents. So I don't know. That's about 300 something percent rally. Even if you didn't get ahead on that pullback, you probably still doubled your money on a breakout. So really nice. And just looking at the volume, it really had that volume support in that rally. So going back, if we're looking now, what could happen? Just get rid of all this. The key thing I'm sort of looking at, say, even if you take it from here to here, that's your rally. I've got to try and figure this out. 12 to 55, say. What's that? 43 cents. And if you take a 43 cents from roughly 32, that makes it 75, say. Let's just say 75. So potentially, if this is your first weekly leg up, and this is enough of you know, a bit of a clean out. You've chopped around and you've held lower levels and it started to hold. It even spiked down here, but probably more the overall market was tentative. And I'd consider that really a higher level at 37.5, and we've powered on. This is where we go to the daily, because you want to see maybe a pullback on the weekly, and it just goes, and it continues to go. It could just power on straight up through 55. That candle from today, by the end of the week, it's green. We're going through 55. You know where your stop is, you know where your risk is, and away we go. But we're looking for that rally, that extension from the weekly, taking low to high. It's off the chart, but a rally, what did I say, somewhere around 75, is that right? Could be where this volatility runs out of steam, or that this move could run out of steam. If you take that into account, you still got a handy little trade on your hands. Handy trade on your hands, if that makes sense. So just looking at the daily, if we can hold up, if anyone can see, above this low at 49, it's a bit wicky here, which I'm inclined to believe that's your pop down, that's your push up. We've got a lower high coming into play. Doesn't mean anything. If we could just sit on top of the MAs, hold up above that high, that low at 49, chop around, and then if the sellers who are coming in thinking it's going a lot lower, or buyers that are holding off waiting to see what happens, thinking it's going to go a lot lower, and it doesn't, you probably find it's going to be a good buy on a breakthrough 55, and that would take out the high at 57, and away we go. Was that 57, 59, 58? So it makes sense. So we could easily start to pop up, and that's like what we've spoken about before, an inside trade. So by inside I mean rally. We've got this type of action here. It's popped up. You expect it to go down here. Instead, it rallies. So you got inside of the pullback. It's starting to go up again, and I love these sorts of setups. Does that make sense? So it's continuation. You've got the washout lower. It's popped up. Sellers start to come in again, thinking it's going to take out this low. Instead, it holds the higher low. And then you've got your entry through here, gunning for the highs, basically for it to break through those highs there. So it's an inside entry. So what you're going to get, and the reason why I like that, is quite a high probability setup. And you're going to get your traditional, for lack of a better term, your retail investors are going to go, okay, that's my stop. I'm buying on the breakthrough there. It gets pushed up through those highs. They buy on stop, and they got their stops, their closeout stops down here, thinking it's going to go to the moon. And if it doesn't, they're all the ones going to get hurt if it comes screaming back down again. But you have taken a preemptive move, or how do you say, you're already up by the time. So you don't have to worry about sitting on a loss. You don't really have to worry about any of that sort of stuff. If you see it wash out here and it starts to hold a lower level, you can get stopped out here, potentially lock in a small gain, or next to that, or a break-even trade. So it's a high probability setup still, and you're anticipating that breakout. Now, if it doesn't come, you've got a buffer to play with before you have to worry too much about a loss. Whereas if you buy up here, straight away you come into a loss situation. A lot of people will just hold that, go, nah, I'm holding that, it's looking good, I'm going to be right. The ego doesn't let them get out, and they could either be sitting on a small loss, or if this thing comes screaming down and something untoward happens, they're sitting on a massive loss just because they're stubborn. They don't want to take the stop because they set on a loss straight off the bat. But yeah, so I like this entry, and if that can play out here with it holding up above here, say it holds up above 50, it comes down and pops straight back up. Nice little entry. You know where your risk is. If you're wrong and it doesn't kick on through the high at 58, so be it. You're not taking much risk on the trade at all. All right, and if it does kick on through, okay, you're going to get stops probably above that 58 mark, triggering. People are going to be jumping in. They're looking at this weekly chart, thinking, look at that. It's just going to continue high, exactly like we got that first rally. It's off to the races. And if it doesn't, like I said, you've got a buffer. If it does, so be it. Doesn't matter. You've taken a nice earlier entry before the herd. Yeah, so that's it for me on that one. Yeah, we've got our eye on AVH. Probably, there could have been an entry off the MAs on the daily with this little pullback, because that's sort of your first high low after you're breaking out. I'll just show you. I want to draw this up a little bit better. Where am I? Here we go. My traditional entry, really, I missed this one, but this is what you'd be looking at. You've got contraction here. You've got your, your buy zone. It's touched on 1, 2, 3, 4. Starts holding up here. That to me, if you bought it through there, you could have been cleaned out and it comes straight back down. So I'd rather see it pop up, which it did, out of this contraction. So to me, not just to me, it'd be to a lot of people be looking at that going, well, hang on a second. Buyers are starting to lift it. I wouldn't be bothered selling yet. I'm not going to lock in, potentially lock away some gains just yet. It could be going a lot higher. So that puts a lot of people back on the sidelines if they're thinking about selling, and it brings in some new buyers off the sidelines. So this is your first pullback, and that was, potentially your entry through 50 with your stop at 42, 41. Probably quite a big stop in hindsight when you look at that. Probably, what's that, about 20% stop. I'm not a big fan of that. I like to sort of refine the entries, and I didn't get that. I didn't get the entry being refined too much. It just basically just started going up like this, which I find hard. I'd rather see it pull back. Just say we go back to here. I'd rather see this type of thing pull back and give me a smaller risk. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's what I think. I think that's what Helen's referring to. So we can hold up here. I think there's going to be a lot of people being short in here, and they get screwed if it does. I mean, that's all an if and a but it could easily just take all that off. So that would be my entry. What I'd be looking for. Let's just clean all right up. If that's a low, so it could easily pop through here, come down, just take out a lower level, and then start to lift. And then you've got 1, 2 moves lower. Starts to lift from here, and then we've got this scenario. Potentially starts to lift, get our higher low, off we go. Ooh, that wasn't very good. Off we go. We know exactly where our risk is in that stage. You're sharp, you're not. All right. All right, any questions there? Is that making sense? I hope the theory behind, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but what I look for, I've learned a lot of this from Davin, sort of the psychology. Everyone's got a different style of trading. As long as you can understand the psychology behind it, if this makes no sense and you think it's rubbish, then don't trade this style. That's fine. Whatever works for you. But as long as you can understand the psychology of what is happening, between buyers and sellers, because ultimately every market is supply demand. It's not anything else. Even you can argue fundamentals, anything. Oh, the fundamentals drive the market. No, it's the buyers and the sellers that drive the market on the back of fundamentals. And if not everyone believes the same thing, so someone researching fundamentals go, oh, this is a great buy. Someone else goes, that's rubbish. They're looking at different things still. So it's all a mental psychology than anything else. And psychology, the only time it shows up is in price action. And if you can understand, why are people buying? This could be fundamentally something's wrong here. Fundamentals not they're soaking up their cash. They're burning through cash a lot. They're not doing anything, but the price is holding up there. So at this stage, when it's coming down, it's not looking to crash shot. So if you're a fundamental trader, I'm just saying, or you're looking at technicals differently, you're looking at that going, well, why is that held up if the fundamentals are not great, or for whatever reason? Does that make sense? And the price action to me is the only thing that says the whole story. So if you're reading something and it's looking ultimately negative and you're getting this sort of breakout, you're wrong. You've got to go and research a bit harder. So if you get a breakout here and your fundamentals saying, look, this is a rubbish stock, you're obviously not right. You're on the wrong side of the market. Does that make sense? And you've got to go do a bit more research to find out what it is that potentially the whole of the other market, the whole of the rest of the market is focusing it on. And if you're hearing everywhere that it's a rubbish stock, but you're seeing something else, you've got to trust yourself, especially when it starts to break out. Trust yourself that you're right, because the market is giving you a heads up that something else is happening. Does that make sense? So anyway, as long as you can understand, like I said, the psychology behind what's happening here, and you know exactly where you place risk, and that's why it's so important. If this market topples over here, just for instance, say I'll draw it in red. This is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting this price action, and it's potentially got 1, 2. and this is the third leg. Now, what if it just keeps going screaming back down? That's what I'm expecting. For example, I'm expecting it to hold up on this support. All right. What if it doesn't? And I was sitting by. I just go, well, that's what I'm expecting. We're breaking out. Da da da. Don't forget we've got through this high as well, and it's struggling. That's what I'm expecting if I want to buy. Okay, let's just buy at 45. Let's put it a bid just below the market. I'll get a nice cheap price. And then it comes down. You get set. You go, look, I'm a legend. And all of a sudden, the next day, it's going down lower. It's going lower. It breaks this uptrend. And it's just heading straight down. There, you've got to go, oh, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. And where am I going to get out? You've got to know exactly if you're going to buy like that, where you're not waiting for some sort of setup, you're just going to buy on the bid. And I'm not a big fan of just buying on the bid because I don't think it's proven anything. Because at stage, the last few days, it's going down. You can't argue that. It's going down and pretty much off the high. So maybe this is in play. Maybe this is a big washout through 55, through the previous high. Massive washout. It's coming down. You just bought. It's coming down. You don't know why. And maybe any of the fundamentals traders here that thought it was rubbish are proven right. And this thing goes straight through 32. Okay. And then you're stuck with this massive loss on your books until you close it out. Or maybe you've closed it out below a break of 42.5 because you go, oh, look, I'm wrong. I'm taking it off the board. But a lot of people don't do that. So yeah, that's why I'm a big fan of this is the price action we just talked about. Rather than buy here because it's come back down to the support line, you want it to be proven right. You want to always buy on the rise, sell on the fall. If that makes any sense. You want to be buying when the market's going up, not when it's coming into your zone. Okay, because when it's coming in, you're still not proven whether you're right or wrong, whether the bears are right or the bulls are right. Okay, so that's why I think a lot of people can understand exactly what I'm talking about, but it's the entries that may cause a bit of problems. And also when you've been watching something for so long, and I mean, this is what I know I can run around and jump over myself. I'll be cursing everyone if I don't get the setup because I've been watching it for so long. But that's part of trading too. If you don't get your setup, just don't get in. You got to realize there's a lot more stocks out there that will set up for you. Will give you a high probability setup, and will go off in your favor. Whereas this one could just from here could just go 1, 2, and go boom, up we go. And you're waiting for this setup like this, and it doesn't play out, and you're left on the sidelines, and you go, I've done all that hard work. So the next time it plays out, you go, look, I'm just going to buy here, and then boom, you're wrong on that one. All right, so just remember, it's about the setup, and the setup is what's going to keep you probably out of the rubbish ones that you got it wrong, and it's going to put you into higher probability setups. Even if, they do kick on, you get your setup, and they turn around and reverse on you, at least you know that 9 times out of 10, you're going to buy on the rise. You're going to buy when it's rising, you're in, and those ones that are going to make you money. So you've got your high probability setup. Everything you said is going to happen, what you planned for is playing out. Okay, not all of them kick on, but I think what it's doing is putting you into the market, into the high probability setups. Are going to help your statistics going forward. But if you don't have your setup, and like I said, you buy on the just sit on the bid there, and you're wrong, you're going to get into every single wrong trade. Does that make sense? And you're going to probably get into the right trades as well. But all you're doing is increasing all the wrong trades that you don't want to get into. And this setup will keep you out of harm's way. All right, I hope that makes sense. There's a bit of a sermon coming out there. What was the next one? When are you planning a masterclass? Probably, I don't know, mate. When will I become a master? GRR. Let's have a look at that one for Jane, and then FDR. Yeah, so this, I'm just seeing one thing quickly. Grange, I hate Grange for some reason. It just keeps looking like a buy and gets smacked down, and it really gets me. We've had this before. We had this in this rally and got stopped out here when everything was looking great. Fundamentals were great. They were doing good things. It's just that someone come in there and kept selling it down. So I've got a bad stigma for Grange. Or bad, I just don't like it. I'm stubborn. So let's just go and look at the longer term price action. So you can probably see it here. This is what I think is a longer term play. And if we just go into the weekly, that's your longer term play. So we got fluffed in here, took a minor profit, and then turned around and got squeezed back out. I don't think we never got in again after that. And the market's gone 1-2. So that it's what it has done on the weekly and the daily. It's come into a buy zone on the weekly. Okay. On the daily, you can see that 1, 2 moves down. So my premise is you go, okay, if this trend is holding up, we're in a buy zone, but it's about your setup from now on in. It's not about, okay, let's just buy it here. Let's just buy it, hit the offer, it's 23. It's not coming down. I might put my stop here at 21. It's not on the rise. We still got this kind of action that's playing out. And within that action, if you can see, it was quite heavy selling, a bit of a chop up, drag in some more buyers, and then heavy selling again. So this was really fluff to drag in some more buyers and squeeze them straight back out as it headed back down. So who's to say that same action doesn't play out, chop, 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 boom, and we go straight down 30, and this premise of this long-term support holding up is blown apart. And there is something within the stock that we don't know about yet, that maybe it's just the inside. It could be privy people, or someone suspects something's not right, and there's a major seller in there just trying to get out. And every time we try to buy into it, we get screwed. All these sorts of things, because all we can do is trade what we see, not what we're guessing. And at the moment, it is primed for a buy. You just want the entry to play out. And I don't think if you can see this minor, it's probably this minor high or low is just at 1, 2, and we could be coming straight back down again. So I don't think that's a good entry. What you want to see is it really, ideally this is what I'd like to see. So this is, we'll go back to red, I like pink. All right, this is that action I just talked about, 1, 2. So we've got 1, 2. We've just popped up. So I wouldn't mind it chopping around here for a bit. And I want to see that over a bit of time. And potentially that's your secondary move down. And we want to see, at the moment, there's no real evidence that buyers are stepping in. It's just at that price. So if we get this sort of thing and get some minor high lows starting to hold, we retest 25, come back down again, high low holds. What that is evidence to everyone that there is buyers starting to step in off this, looking for another high low like this, looking for another high low to hold out. So just keep an eye on that. We haven't got the volume. Volume seems to be coming down as we're getting sort of towards 21, 22. You want to see that pop up with a bit of volume, and then maybe come back down, pop up with a bit of volume, and then I think the trade will start to play out, and you've got still this contraction to contend with. So if we start, I could probably draw it. If we get, that, and we start to get a break, when you start, so what you're doing at the moment, sellers are in control, buyers are still there, you got contraction. As soon as you start breaking up out of this contraction, basically coming through this, resistance, downtrending line, you're either going to go from contraction to a sideways market. But you know that buyers are probably on the right side. If you're going to be a buyer, you're probably going to be on the right side. But maybe you have to wait for it to play out. But if you start getting some sort of setup, and you know that, okay, we've come down, we've done our 2 moves, we've popped up quite strong, we've come down, and then that's your entry. You're off a higher low. We're starting to find it accelerate higher out of contraction. That weekly chart is now taking control. It's the one that everyone's focused on. There's no sellers coming in to clean out. All the selling pressure's done. It's gone. And then we're starting to lift. That's what you'd be waiting for. So I think now really it's just, okay, we don't know who's winning just yet. Sellers or buyers. Nothing's broken just yet. Sellers are still coming in, holding lower highs, but buyers, longer term buyers, holding higher lows as well. So the price is coming into a point of agreement. We don't know which way it's going to go just yet. If you start getting this play out, okay, we could lean to the side of buying. All right, and it's just about the entry. So really just keep an eye on that for the entry. Is what I'd be doing just now. All right, let's get on to our last one, FDR. Is that the one, John? Why am I not getting it? What is the stock? I'm probably just closed out. Is there a stock name? Have I just not? I typed in the right code, didn't I? FD delisted. Yeah, what's going on there? It's gone. FDV. There you go. I was going to say you can't be trading that one, mate. Yeah. Now this one. Look at this kind of price action. It's still, I mean, the MAs are down here on the daily, but if you go to the weekly, that could be in that turning point where this is a prime setup. Ideally, I'd like to see it pop through 75 first. I mean, if you're willing to buy in a break up through 75, I'll let you into what goes through my head, good or bad. So we're always looking for something that's going to bounce off the MAs. Look at this. We've got this big. Let's just draw that up. I think this is very important. So this is what we're looking for. Okay, the market's cleaned up. It's washed out that low, popped back up. So at the moment, at that stage, we don't know whether it's just going to contract, but we can see the buyers over the next 3 or 4 weeks, it's holding up above the MAs, and you've got this contraction or consolidation up towards the 70 mark. So for me, it'd be quite clear. You drill down to the daily. I bet you get a nice little entry at that stage. That was back in started 2018, which I haven't got here, but that entry there, break through 70, break up through the highs. You stop just below. As it did give you a trade when it got through the highs, but then it's popped up through the highs, then consolidated through there, and that's not what you want to see if you're a bull. So all in all, you probably would have taken a stop somewhere around 75. Okay, no harm done. You made a small gain. Sit back and watch what happens. And then, luckily enough, the market got screwed all the way back down to 45 thereabouts, and then we started to lift. So this could all be part of that longer term action. Okay, we've got this massive rejection up towards $1.97. It's come all the way back down, and what we're looking for is if the market consolidate that MAs again. It needs to hold up above 70 basically for the bulls to start to pile back in and start to come back in. And I think it needs a bit of time to hold up above. So at the moment we could hold up there and contract below 75, and you could just sort of do, I guess, something like this. It's come all the way back down, chop around, and then before we go lower high, bang, it comes back down and it takes you out. So if you're buying in here without some sort of entry confirmation or a high low playing out, you don't know what's going to happen, and anything could happen. It could do one or two things, and you got a 50-50 bet. Okay, so you really want to narrow that. You want to improve those odds. You want a 70-30, say 70% probability it's going to play out in your favor. And to do that, you need some sort of high lows. You need evidence that buyers are starting to stack up, and they're going to start to support above 70 and kick off. So I think you're coming into a prime zone, and you can see the selling pressure has pushed it all the way back down from overbought to oversold. So really, it's starting to build, and it needs to show a bit more, but it's in a prime position. So all I'm really looking at the weekly for is to see, is it in a position to play out? Is it in a position to do well, to kick off? So if it does kick off, then you're going to be looking back up towards the highs, and you've got a 10-20% rally you can take advantage of on your hands. So from there, you go, okay, good enough position on the weekly. Let's go down to the daily to see what's going on. Let's just take it back. And on the daily, you can see the buyer's not in control just yet. It has held off 70, but at the same token, it's holding below 75. So there's nothing just yet to say jump in, apart from you having a bit of a guess. All in all, you've got volume that come in on the down day, and that wasn't positive on Friday. But then you've got volume today, which has come in, and it's actually high, but it's still getting. Still looks like there's some selling pressure. Until we potentially get a break up through 75, then I'd ideally like to see, if you just go back, I would want to see, because at the moment, what does the daily look a bit different? Well, the daily is very similar. It's sort of doing this action, and we're about here. So if we can get, that start to hold up, maybe test that, whoops, I want a different color. So we're about there. If we can get it, maybe pulling back, testing up through the highs, off a little minor lower high, and then I always like to see those two moves down, because that's your first heads up that the buyers are starting to win out. And generally, it's not a massive amount of volume. It's generally not enough to just, to see something go bang, 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 whoop, bang, bang, straight up and take off. And if it does, generally it's going to be a very thin market, and you may not want to be involved. You want to see something, if it does this type of action, it trades up through 75 and it comes back down, and then starts to get a key high low look like it's going to form. That to me is a prime setup. You're just going to trade it off this minor high low. This is your key high low, and so on. But I think that hasn't played out just yet. we do need to see, I mean, I do need to see it get through 75 at least, and then just see what plays out. And if you're lucky enough, you get your setup, go with it. If not, you know, sit in the corner and just curse like I do. All right, guys, we'll probably call it a day there. Hopefully there was a bit of information there that helped you out. If not, if you've got a question, always feel free to send me an email to support@tradesetup.com.au and we'll get back to you. The market's up 4, so it is looking a bit more positive. Let's just look at to see what's happened on the rest of it since we've been chatting. So that's our market. You know, maybe we're getting this major rolling over. We're getting major pressure at 66.87, 86. You know, and we're going to come screwing back down. Who knows? But at the moment, it's not. It's, you know, the last half an hour, it's just been ticking higher. Crude is coming down. Gold coming down. So they're all suggesting we've got some sort of correction. You know, overnight markets on Wall Street, S&P are all ticking higher. All right, so just we'll see what goes on. All right, guys, thanks very much for joining me. And we're back in, hopefully, since I know the sound working. It was just not so much my computer, but I didn't plug it in properly, or the streaming software was a bit buggered. I know, just shut it down and reopen it and it should be fine. So should be back in tomorrow morning at around hopefully 9:45 thereabouts. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. Have a great day, and I'll speak to you. Hopefully everything is nice and sweet tonight and Trump can support this market and we get some of our longs kicking off, and gold as well, with any luck. Anyway, enjoy your day. We'll speak to you again tomorrow. Cheers, guys. Bye.